like immediately they're like, oh, band training is going to be easy. And then I give them the orange band, the real heavy one. And not a single guy in the NBA can do anything with that. Half of the guys in the NFL cannot move it for one repetition.
We are rolling. So for today in particular, my I don't know, gym rats, my meatheads, even my critical thinkers, we're going to talk about why weightlifting is a waste of your time. I'm pleased to have with me today Dr. Jaquish. He is a best-selling author. I got it right, I think. He's a researcher, inventor, PhD scientist, inventor of the X3, which we'll talk about. But he's revolutionized, disrupted an industry, weightlifting in particular. Anyway, Dr. J, I'm gonna call you Dr. J. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, looking forward to talking. I know we got some similar views on things. We may talk about way more than fitness and small business today, but let's cover the basics here. You invented a device called the X3. I know you've been all over the place. People have probably seen you on GQ, Men's Health, NBC Sports, all over the place. But the basic premise here is you've got something that is based around a resistance band training. So you get variable resistance throughout repetition, and it just makes much more efficient weight muscle gain and lower risk to joint injury. Is that kind of the premise?
Yeah, you just did my job for me. Take the day off now.
So just a quick question. How long has it been around?
4 years.
4 years. Awesome. And I think you mentioned as we joined, made in America. Is that real? Did I get that right? And is it really made in America?
Unlike most made in America products, which are assembled in America with Chinese parts, right, the parts of X3 are made here. Now, the bands do not come from the United States only because we can't grow rubber trees here. We don't have enough rainfall. So those come from Sri Lanka. It's like just like rainforest / swamp. Like they have rubber plants grow there, and they can farm it and get the latex. So everything else made in America.
Made in America.
Parts made in America.
Is this thing just as somebody who travels for work from time to time? Is this thing pretty portable? Like, is this a good hotel workout type of thing?
I've let's see. I think I've taken my X3 maybe 600,000 miles.
I'm not getting stopped at TSA or United kicking me off the plane for having some.
Well, you check it. Yeah. So, like, if you try and carry it on, it's like, looks like it's a big metal bar. Yeah.
No one's gonna.
They don't like that. Yeah, and it's heavy too. It weighs 7 pounds. So, yeah, they don't care for it. But if you check it, and checking your bags now think about it. They give you so much hell with whatever you want to walk onto the plane with, but you can literally put firearms in your bag when it's checked.
Right.
Like, they really don't care what's in there as long as you don't have access to it.
Yeah.
Which it makes some sense. So it's like, now I like walk onto the plane with like my hands in my pockets or just my briefcase, so I can do some work. Like, I don't carry anything on the plane. I check everything.
Oh, I was down in Australia with my family a few years ago before it went full Nazi. And, we're getting on a domestic flight within Australia. And I'm like disclosing to the guy, hey, I've got some oranges here in the bag. And he's like, good for you. Right. And here I'd be run out of the airport. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what the story is here. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent already. So why not just get a broom handle, cut it in half, and some bullshit resistance bands off Amazon?
Well, you answered your own question. That'd be bullshit. Because the resistance bands that you find on Amazon, they're like 5 to 20 pounds. Okay. They all say they're like 150. That's true if you stretch them 30 feet. But while you're exercising, you're not going to be doing that. So a lot of them are just rehab bands that cost maybe 50 cents to produce, and they're sold for $5. And they don't provide any relevant resistance. So when some meathead says to me, band training doesn't do anything, he's actually kind of right. Bands by themselves, worthless. Because if they're strong enough to provide relevant force for musculature, Like if I threw a band around my back and was doing push-ups, my wrists would be twisting. And I could even, if it was heavy enough for me, like it'd break a wrist. So yeah, you need a bar. Like there's really only one smart thing that's come out of sports performance study, and that's the barbell. Everything else is just pushing a fucking landfill, like didn't do anything. I mean, I can back that up. Like, I don't need to like hesitate when I say that. But the barbell is brilliant because you rotate your hand to keep your wrist neutral. You're always doing it. And the inside of the barbell adjusts, like, or it flows freely. And the same thing with the X3 bar. So the X3 bar is in essence an Olympic band, Olympic bar. And, the broomstick handle thing, most athletic people are doing deadlifts with 600 or 700 pounds with the X3. Try that with a broomstick.
Yeah.
You'll have shards of wood, shoved right to your neck. You might die. Like,
need a waiver for that.
Once people see and like experience the banding, and there's like an epiphany moment. Like I work with 11 different NFL players, like 60 different NBA players, just help them with their programming. And like immediately they're like, oh, band training is going to be easy. And then I give them the orange band, the real heavy one. And not a single guy in the NBA can do anything with that. Half of the guys in the NFL cannot move it for one repetition. Now I kind of built that band as sort of the top band. First of all, I needed it because I was strong enough at that time to progress to that, because I had been using the X3 for about a year when I came up with that. But it was also a way so people would be like, oh, this is very different than any band I've ever seen. So that was a profound moment, and people realize all of a sudden, they're in the NFL and they're 6'4", they're going to be pushing over 600 pounds in a chest press, and they can't do that. Not even once.
Kind of a shock factor. Do you have, so with the athletes you worked with or yourself, right? Pretty jacked dude. You didn't get that big with the X3 over just the last 4 years.
Yes, I did.
Come on.
So, 100% X3. I was an overweight 190 when I turned 40 years old. And I picked up my X3 prototype about a week after I turned 40. So I gave it to a machine shop, had the drawings and everything, and knew exactly what I wanted. And started that adventure. Unfortunately, I understood protein, which is the other thing that people screw up. So I immediately, like it was the first year, was 30 pounds of muscle. I mean, this is a guy who's over 40 years old, and obviously no performance enhancing drugs ever involved. And so like I was in incredible shape at the end of year one, put on another 15 pounds, and then and lost about 20 pounds of body fat at the same time. And so I was a completely different person after gaining 45 pounds of mass, and it was 16 pounds of body fat I lost. So like just completely different guy. And that's right about, I mean, I'm bigger and leaner now, but it gets less dramatic over time. So like those other 2 years, also ran a few nutrition experiments. I wasted 6 months doing calorie restriction, which doesn't work nearly as well as other methods. So unfortunately, there's still dipshits on the internet that just bang that calorie restriction war drum. It's not been working for the last 75 years, and the Western world is fatter and sicker than ever. But by all means, let's keep doing the same exact thing.
0 calories in Diet Coke, right? It's just a numbers game.
Yeah. Yeah, I would never drink.
So
you're kidding. I don't know if all your listeners know you're kidding.
Yeah, but, no, I haven't touched that stuff in close to a decade now. So what is 4 years into this thing, right? You're you're a best-selling author. You've been featured all over the place, but you're still making the rounds in the podcast world. I guess I know that you grew up or spent some time in Northern California, Bay Area, and places like that. Why start a small business, period? What's the last few years been like in this shit show of an economic environment we're in? And why start a small business in California in particular?
Yeah, California has very little to offer if you're planning on making money or keeping the money you make, because California likes to take it away from you, which oddly, you know, they raise taxes on cigarettes to disincentivize people from smoking cigarettes, but they raise taxes on working, and it seems to disincentivize working. Yeah, right. Yeah, our state is run by a bunch of nutless monkeys. Yeah, it's terrible people. Don't understand anything. It's kind of like the White House, where it's like, we'll just print a few $1 trillion and, you know, we're rich. Yeah, they don't realize that there's actually an implication there. It's like a 2-year-old's making decisions.
Yeah, sooner or later.
California is just as dumb as federal government. So it's just such an embarrassment that you know, we're the 8th largest economy in the world, and we're run by adult children.
Right. Yeah, we're driving business away left and right as well.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
like high earners. So we driven you
left, HP left, Oracle left. Like, I think that right there is like a couple billion annually.
Tesla's on its way out. Yeah. Did we drive you out of here as well?
Fortunately, the business does well enough to where it's like I can outpace the rising taxes with the success of the business, but it doesn't really justify the sort of excessive spend also for getting nothing. It's like, if you run a business in California, you pay an extra 14%, and compared to a place like Texas or Florida, would provide all the same services. So you're literally getting nothing.
Right. Yeah,
the state of California does nothing. Here's something great. They have a department of high-speed rail, like 60 employees, all, you know, 6-figure salaries kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have any high-speed rail.
Where is that high-speed rail?
None.
I haven't been on that one.
None. Yeah, so like a lot of this is just bureaucracy that's just been allowed to grow for no reason whatsoever, other than, I suppose, people in politics know that when a person works for the government, they're going to vote for Democrats, you know, because those are the ones pushing for your jobs.
Yeah, that's the gravy
whether
train.
Or not your job is justified to exist or not. So yeah, like that model has been working for them, but if it keeps working a lot longer, then you have to think about the fact that the people who pay the least amount of taxes get to decide what we do. And that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I feel like I'm living inside of one of my favorite books, Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand. Yeah. It's like, this is the world we're in right now. Well, beyond the political economic environment we've got here, just tell me about the fitness industry a little bit. I mean, I see the X3, right? And I'm thinking infomercial, right? Like, there's just a lot of crazy shit in the business you're in. Am I right?
Yeah. And I understand skeptics. There's a lot of crummy products that don't do anything in the fitness industry. I don't really think there is a fitness industry. I mean, like, there's no cohesive, I mean, even like organizations like IRSA, the International Health and Racquet Association, they're more just for big box gyms, not really for fitness in general. And they're more about the business of running big box gyms. I think they're a great organization if that's what you have. But there's really no, like, most of the fitness industry is somebody just comes up with something that looks cool and then markets it. And then when it fails, they just do the same thing again. And a lot of these, the perfect push-up is a great example. So the argument was because you're twisting your wrist while you're doing a push-up, you activate more muscle. Yeah, somebody put that to the test. And it turns out because of the instability in the wrist, you activate less muscle. So it would be better just to do push-ups, which are free. So that kind of sums up like home fitness completely. That's about all you need to know. And when I came out with the X3, I happened to know the guy that started the Perfect Push-Up, and he's like, if it's above $35, like nobody's ever going to buy it. And I'm like, I'm not trying to come up with a fake fitness product that people will just buy and then throw in their closet. I'm trying to come up with something completely groundbreaking that will show people a completely different way they should view the human body and exercise. And now, this guy didn't say this, but most of the other people in the industry said, you're going to try and present a scientific argument to the fitness industry, to like people who follow bodybuilding, never gonna work. Like, these are the dumbest people on earth. They understand nothing. They can't even read and write. One of the guys told me, why do you think most fitness information is on YouTube and Instagram? I was like, I don't know. Yeah, it's videos and pictures because these people can't read. I'm like, okay. I didn't want to ignore the advice, so I ran a test. I targeted that audience, and it was immediately like a catastrophe. Like, these guys just couldn't understand anything.
And you're trying to present like PhD level research-based results.
Oh, I dumbed it down to high school level. These guys didn't make it through high school, or they didn't learn anything when they went. So, yeah, I was just like blown away at the inability and anger towards an academic approach.
Wow.
It's like, this study shows this. And people are just furious when you tell them what a study says because they don't understand. So it's just frustration out of not understanding. Sort of like when you try and explain how to use an iPhone to an elderly person, and they just start screaming at you because they just can't. They don't have the logic or the intellect to read a couple of things, 2-3 sentences, and like put it all together.
So with that,
I pivoted.
Anger, okay.
Yeah, and also these people, they have got a lot of psychological issues and stuff like that. Like the haters, haters hate anyone who's successful. And so I decided to be more of a personal brand.
And you're disrupting an industry.
And I'm disrupting.
People don't like change.
Right. And so I got hated just because I was succeeding. And by the way, no company that's failing is ever trolled.
Right.
It's only when you're successful is when the trolls show up. And so it was outrageously successful. And so they're mad at me because, I'm doing well financially. But the weirdest thing about the fitness industry is the rage that circles around who's in better shape. I swear to God, I never saw this coming because I just I don't know anyone this stupid and petty, but there's tens of millions of them in the United States who, if you're in better shape than them, they want you to die. They hate you. And they're convinced you're cheating. It's like, oh, he's definitely using steroids. Like, I don't look anything like the competitive bodybuilder. I'm great. Like, super great shape. Like, here, I'm on the cover of the book. Like, I'm fit.
Yeah.
Yay. But do I look like a bodybuilder? No. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, that's like a huge point of contention. Like, they really don't like anybody who they see as like better than they are. So like a lot of ego, a lot of just psychological issues you see in their comments. Turns out that people with this level of commitment are not sociopathic. They're actually psychopathic. These are the people who killed neighborhood cats as children. These are sick people.
And you're getting trolled on social media primarily, or these guys are showing up to your
I mean, hey, if I run a TV ad, there's no one they can bitch and complain to, so they probably just sit there and stare at a spot on the wall and wonder why am I not successful? Probably because you're sitting there and staring at a spot on the wall.
Are you
or whining about something on the internet. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like people need to realize like the reason like you haven't amounted to jack fucking shit is because you haven't done anything. Like going on the internet and complaining about the success of others. Elon is like the perfect example. People trash that guy. It's like, what have you done? Tell me about the business you started. You know, and of course, none of them ever have. I've never seen a CEO that trolled anybody.
Right. No, that guy
like,
thrives on
people
it.
actually have like successful guy shit to do.
Right.
So
yeah,
they're not.
Does Joe Rogan give a shit? No.
Yeah. Do you see him complaining about the latest Velcro wallet? No, you don't. Or car or whatever. Like he's not, you know, going on the, you know, Porsche website saying, you sons of bitches, you just doubled your prices for the same crappy car. Actually, Porsche makes fine automobiles. I shouldn't, but you know, they have trolls too. And it's usually the people who could never afford their vehicle.
Right.
Nasty shit.
It's not a Porsche owner. Right.
Yeah, there should be like a badge, not a Porsche owner.
Right.
Every like shitty comment.
Probably a Prius owner.
Like, I got an axe to grind with Porsche, but I don't put it on the internet. Like I had a terrible experience with ownership of one, but I'm not going to post that on the internet. Like I might say it to somebody who works for, you know, the manufacturer in Germany,
right?
Because, you know, I felt like they got a habit of charging exorbitant fees for service, and it really sucks when you spend, you know, 100,000 plus on a car, and then you got to go in for a $13,000 service.
Right.
Yeah, that sucks. But
yeah,
you know, but I'd rather have a dialogue as opposed to just.
And towards some end, hey, dude, you know, you should probably know how I feel as a consumer, and this is the experience I had. You know, maybe take that
and if they say
it's improve.
Right. If they say that's the cost, it's like, how come, you know, the maintenance on my Lamborghini is 1/4 that of a Carrera 4S, which is basically 1/4 the car.
Right.
Like that's not an impressive car. Right. It's a regular Porsche. It's not special. It's not a GT3 or GT2 RS. Those are the crazy ones.
Oh, my wife likes to tease my my Japanese SUV, but her German SUV costs I don't know 10x to get an oil change. What it cost me somehow.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's Mercedes. Yeah. They do that too. Yeah. Just crazy margin on the parts. And it's just from a marketing perspective, you'd think make the service cheaper, charge more for the car, because they're happiest on the day they get the car. They're quite the opposite of happy when they need to pay a crazy fee to get their car back and drive off the lot with the same thing they drove on the lot with.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Just talk about a way to like ruin somebody's day.
So let me ask you, Doctor, what's your deal with Tony Robbins? Like, how did that come about? And given everything we're talking about, does Tony lend you more legitimacy, or does it give you even more haters? Like, do you get more trolls now?
There's no such thing as bad press.
Okay.
So, you know, I've been called a fucking asshole because I, you know, do work with Tony Robbins, and I'm like, hey, post that everywhere. Because like eventually some people read it and be like, I love Tony Robbins. Yeah. What? And then they go and see what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, this guy works with Tony. In fact, Tony's latest book, he went on for a couple pages about me in Life Force.
Okay. I haven't read it.
Yeah, it was like a bestseller, like the first hour it came out. I also think Tony, he's kind of an interesting guy. Like, he's really not doing well with sort of the wannabe communist socialist types, because the biggest complaint against advice givers like Tony, like Gary Vaynerchuk, like Brad Lee, like there's one guy who's really in your face about it. The 10X guy, help me out. Grant Cardone. So like these people are just despised because people actually write this shit down. I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it. They're terrible people because they give advice, and advice should be free. Really? So like, say that to Boston Consulting Group.
Sure.
Like, what? you can't be a paid consultant to help somebody.
Right.
Like, it just blows my mind. But that's kind of the mentality. Like, it doesn't cost them anything to give their advice, so they should give it all away for free.
Well, coaches
I
should
mean,
do the
I
same.
understand how 2-year-olds think, so I can hear those words and go, okay, you're 2. I understand. But when this comes out of the mouth of like a 30-year-old, I can't even believe that this person got as far in life. Like, who ties their fucking shoes for them?
Yeah, like a college NFL coach should do the same, work for free, give that advice.
Right.
But here's the thing, like, it doesn't matter if you pay Tony $100K or he gives it to you for free. Somebody that's making that complaint is never going to use it in the first place.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's a strange world we live in. And, I don't have any friends that are losers. So I had never seen a trolling comment before, because it's all jealousy based, right? They're all just furious if somebody has something better than them. And because, like, hey, I see stupid products being advertised, I just ignore the advertisement. Right. I just keep scrolling. Like, never going to get that. But yeah, I don't think a thing of it. But so, and my friends are the same. Like, I'd never seen a trolling comment until, and even in my medical device days when I developed OsteoStrong. So it's a whole, like, the whole story before X3, developing a medical device. Like, I mean, what I thought was a troll was a lot of medical doctors that would say, like, I'm not going to send my patients to that. It doesn't seem like it makes sense. All I needed in the beginning, it was like, I needed to sit down with these guys for like 2 hours and explain the science to them. I can do it in about 10 minutes now. And so in 10 minutes, I sit down with a group of physicians. I've never met one that walked out of that room and still said no. They're like, absolutely, it makes perfect sense. Thank you for explaining it to me. Because they're inundated with information and they don't get paid to learn. They get paid to see patients. So they don't have a lot of time for other stuff. But then, once I got into marketing X3, like, I discovered what a troll was, and like the mentality and sort of the dark self-hatred. Like, it's the real problem is I am the mirror that they don't want to look in. Yeah. They see a guy, they're into fitness and I'm into fitness, and I launched a product and I'm making tens of millions of dollars a year. And they're like, fuck that guy. And it's like, hey man, you could have thought of it. You could have filed for all the patents. I have 300 patents on it. You could have done that, but you didn't, because you were too busy bitching and complaining at somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Rather than solving problems. I mean, this is like, if I really boil it down and you see it like in so many things, is it a scarcity mentality or an abundance mentality? Right. And like those trolls, everything is scarce. Well, Dr. Jaquish did that and now I can't do it. And the world is shit because I missed my opportunity. Well, why don't you look for the next opportunity to make the world better?
Yeah. There's a lot of things I wish I had the patent on, fill in the blank, the toothbrush, whatever. Like, oh, I'm not going to sit down and like be bummed out that I didn't come up with that. Like, there's so many things. Here's another thing. Like, now that it's starting to gain popularity and there's copycat products, most of which I shut down. I've shut down 7 different companies that were selling kind of knockoff X3s. Some are real shitty and they didn't violate the patent, but they're also just junk. And I look at those and didn't really think much of them. Like, no one's going to get a good muscle stimulus from that. But I noticed a lot of people buy the cheap one and then they buy mine. And then they're like, okay, like, this is just phenomenal. But it's getting to the point where, and it's because of these copycat products that everyone ends up coming to me anyway. And it's like, there's some sort of, winners just win, I guess is my point. Like you keep working, you keep building a better product, you keep marketing it better, you keep speaking on stage about it. And, now people are like, well, like, you invented, they'll say crazy shit, like, you invented variable resistance. No, God invented variable resistance. Nobody was smart enough to use it. Like,
in this way.
In fact, here's kind of a new way I'm explaining variable resistance. And it's actually short because as I talk about, like everyone knows, maybe out of the, let's say, 20 people that work out, 19 out of the 20 people don't look any different than the day they started working out. Nothing. Like they haven't lost an ounce of body fat. That maybe they're a little bit fatter, in fact, especially the guys, because they think like, oh, I'm working out, so I, should eat this bag of Doritos because I'm bulking up or whatever. There's always like some fat guy excuse. And so you look at these people and they never succeed. They're going to the gym all the time. And so the smarter people just quit. I actually think the smarter ones are the ones that quit working out because they realize they're not getting any results out of it. So they're like, okay, someday somebody will figure out how this works, but this 3 sets of 10 thing doesn't do anything. And I can explain why. We have a big genetic difference from the people who end up being pro athletes and the rest of us. So the origin of my pectoral is right here. It inserts right at the top of the bicep, right close to, where the head of the humerus bone is. Some people have a mutation so that this insertion point is here.
Really?
So they have a longer lever arm. Now, you know what a longer lever arm does. You got way more power with a longer lever. And on top of that, that longer lever is made out of tendon. And that tendon is one of the most elastic substances on earth. So basically, when you look at guys in the NFL, their variable resistance is built into their own body.
They've got a built-in resistance.
That's why they have the advantage over you. Once you start training with variable resistance, guess what? It's a level playing field.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like that. I thought that was a very complex way of explaining it. Even the haters were just like, oh shit, I totally know what you're talking about. Because everybody knows a guy who walked into the gym, bench pressed maybe 5 different times.
Yeah.
And all of it was like the muscle was just growing right on him. And they're like, what the fuck?
Right.
How come that doesn't happen to me? Like I've been training for years. This kid just shows up and he gets bigger every time he walks in the building. And or he is bigger every time he walks in the building. That's the difference. And I think instead of focusing on the people who failed, I'm like, okay, I want everybody to think about the people who have succeeded and what the difference is. Also, I prefer working with the NFL and the NBA because they're drug tested. Because a lot of these guys, like a lot of unsuccessful people want to imagine successful people. And you said it a little bit with the abundance versus scarcity thing. People believe that anyone who's more successful than them cheated to get there. I mean, that's like a socialist mentality, right? Yeah. Like, I had this neighbor a couple of years ago who was like, well, I did it the honest way. And he was, of course, super unsuccessful and just angry and bitter in his work. And it's like, why do you think everybody else cheated? He's like, well, because I worked hard and, I didn't do very well. And so everyone else is just lying and cheating. I'm like, everybody, like CEO of your company, Elon, anybody at the top of anything. It's just cheating and lying all the time. Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you can't help it.
That's our pervasive victim mentality as well. It goes right along with it, right?
Oh yeah. That's half the groups that the White House is trying to appeal to. That's their thinking.
Oh,
like, I'm a victim, 100% victim all the time. All I want to talk about is my victimhood. And it turns out they don't have any victimhood. They're not victims of anything.
Right. Hey, look, like on the whole, look across the world, you're still extremely fortunate, right? You've got it really, really good.
You were born in America.
Right.
Like you have it easier than everyone.
You've got clean water. You've probably got a roof. How often have you gone hungry? Let me ask you about winners and losers, not from the gym am I getting gains perspective, but your journey as a entrepreneur multiple times. In fact, just this weekend I was out for a ruck and threw an audio book on that a friend recommended, The Hero Code. It's two something hours. So I got the whole thing in on a ruck. And I was making notes when I got back from my son. I mentioned to you off air, I got a 14-year-old boy, and there's a chapter on effectively resilience. I think he centered this chapter around a doctor who came up with a revolutionary approach of using the human's own immune system fighting some forms of leukemia, right? But it was a couple decades before the industry really listened to him, despite clinical evidence and so forth, right? And so it just ran through some of the very famous, like we all know, Edison failed with a light bulb invention like 10,000 times. Henry Ford had a couple failed companies before he got into what we knew as Ford. Abraham Lincoln lost 8 elections before the presidential election. George Washington lost more battles than he won. I don't think I knew that. So that's the other thing to me that makes a difference is winners win because they fail a lot and keep going, pivot when they need to, but they have that resilience.
You got to have the ability to learn. Yeah, losing is just an opportunity for learning. You don't learn anything from winning. Like, here's the other thing. Like, a lot of people are jealous of me. They think I just kind of came out of nowhere with some just thing. And they, of course, in their mind, there's no way that the X3 could work because they didn't even look at it. It's just like, they're just mad that somebody's making money and they're not. And they don't understand that I spent, for the last 15 years, I've been in the medical device industry. In medical device, like all these people in the fitness industry, they'd be homeless if they had to work in the medical device industry, because you actually have to be right. And you can't like make up words when you're talking, which is, like a fitness industry sort of thing. Like you actually have to know your subject matter. And I don't know, of the people who are speaking in the fitness industry on a regular basis, now, most of these are not scientists, because sports scientists tend to not be front people in businesses. Not exactly sure why, but like in this industry, I really haven't come across anyone that I thought was doing the right thing. Now, there's a couple, like I'm gonna mention a couple of professors out there. I won't name names. There's too many to name. That are great, and they do great research, and then they might help a supplement company or something like that apply some of their discoveries. These are very genuine people, but they don't really have any interest in speaking about fitness to the fitness community, probably for the same reason that it's kind of tough to run a business where you're talking to people who, number one, have no money. I mean, fitness people are broke. Like, they have no cash. Like, I can defeat the Olympic Training Center with the X3. X3 is superior to access the Olympic Training Center. I pushed the whole training center right into a landfill to have an X3. And they don't, they can't see it. They don't want to grasp it. It's almost like, if I consider this, I'm somehow, I don't know, drinking the Kool-Aid or something like that. It's just such an obnoxious experience with such irritating people. And the good news is I pivoted. So who I target now is busy professionals. Guess what? There's a lot more of them, and they actually have money. They don't think $550 is a lot of money.
That first part of what you just mentioned, and that's that group think thing is part and parcel to our problem right now, right? We got a bunch of sheep. But on that second part,
of sheep
we do.
Like, I can show people. I've been suspended from Facebook a couple times. It's all for the same thing. I just posted a picture of the box that the masks come in. Why did I get in trouble for that?
No idea.
It's because it says right on the box, these masks are not designed for and will not stop any airborne virus, including COVID-19.
Nice.
All the boxes say the same thing, but people are so interested in doing what their neighbor is doing what everyone else is doing,
Right.
they can glance at that and just ignore it. Like, well, it must be a mistake, or I don't understand why this is here, but everyone else is wearing a mask, so I'm gonna.
But does it stop the virus when I wear 2 of them or 3 of them?
Right.
Or if I wear it alone in my car?
Sure. Yeah, the alone in the car. It's like, yeah, we know who you voted for.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I mean, hey, the mask fits a lot better in the car than a dunce cap does. So it's really the new dunce cap. Like, it's show me you're a fool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a critical thinker, it's hard not to think that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you, and that pivot, then the second part of what you just said, as far as busy professionals, I mean, that resonates. And I also want to ask you about, the type of stuff I do and how it applies. So just tell me about the efficiency and how it resonates with business, busy people.
Well, a busy professional usually can accept that there's something accepted in society that's wrong. And there's lots of other examples, like you need to drink 8 glasses of water a day. You know who came up with that?
Bottled water company.
Gatorade did. And the bottled water companies just grabbed right a hold of it. And yeah, it was about sales. So, and pretty much most of what we learn is not learning at all. It's just it's marketing.
It's marketing. Breakfast is the most important part of the meal.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Yeah.
You've heard breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right? Who came up with that? Kellogg's did.
Yeah.
Like, there's no science there.
Right.
In fact, no matter what time, what time you eat your calories has nothing to do with health.
Right. Our whole food pyramid is a marketing scheme.
Right. Right. Cereals and grains. The first fucking word on the AMA's recommendation is not a thing found in nature. It's a product.
Right.
Like, I've never seen an example of greater corruption.
Right. Well, AMA,
except
AHA,
maybe Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah. I mean, it just tells you they're run by industry. Every one of those, three-letter organizations.
Right. And these people think they're learning something. It's like, I mean, at the very least, I'm teaching about variable resistance and telling you, hey, you can buy my product or not. But I'm certainly got a lot of things to teach, which will change your life if you understand them. That's part of why I wrote the book. Like, the book's separate from the product. You can learn about variable resistance. Hey, if you want to go into a gym and spend half an hour setting up your bench press so it's got the proper amount of chains and weight ratio and all the trial and error, so like I said, each exercise will take half an hour to set up. Like, you can do that and you'll be fucking awesome for it. You'll progress just like an X3 user, but the X3 user takes about half a second to set up for an exercise.
And then, so you got people that have some money, they have some intellect, they want results, and they're busy, and so they want them efficiently. Is that the main thing? Time saving and results?
Well, time saving. See, for me, it wasn't. If my intention was to create the most effective workout. Time had nothing to do with it. If you had to do this for an hour a day, I would tell people we got to do it for an hour a day. If you don't have the time, make the time. I have incredible discipline also. Most people find me difficult to hang out with for extended periods of time because, it's like, I will not skip a workout. And I also won't be hungover for my workout. And so it's like, when they're trying to give me like a shot of booze at 11 o'clock at night, no, I get tired of that. That's okay.
Yeah.
So I don't even know where the hell I was going with this. You just asked me a question.
Yeah, we were talking about effectiveness and efficiency, time efficiency.
Yeah, it was really more about the effectiveness. And it turns out the quicker you can fully shut down a muscle, the more intense stimulus it is, because you're putting much more force through it. You're doing it in a much more efficient way. I'm talking about X3. And that will give us a greater growth stimulus. Saving time had nothing to do with it. It was not even a priority. It just so happens that the quicker you shut down a muscle, so it was, Yeah, it was convenient. You don't really even need to change your clothes. Like some of my fans give me a hard time because sometimes they'll see a video where I'm like deadlifting in jeans. And it was like, well, that was what I was wearing. Like, I'm not gonna go change my clothes. Like, by the way, my pants don't hold me back. Like, if you think your pants hold you back, like you need to see a psychiatrist. I mean, no, would I go, do a Spartan race in jeans? No. Also wouldn't do a Spartan race. So
Period.
that too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it's hard. Like, I wouldn't
challenge
want to
accepted. I'm gonna get you out there one of these days.
Oh no. Let's can we go skiing? I like skiing. I could ski all day. But like, jumping through flaming hoops. What we were saying before the show, for those of you who are listening, it's like jumping through flaming hoops used to be like a metaphor for like something you'd never do because a task is like so crazy punishing. Right. And then, they came up with Spartan races and you're actually literally jumping through a flaming hoop.
Yeah. I mean, the founder, Joe DeSena, right? His original event, which he still holds coming up again in July, is called the Death Race. And the waiver just says you may die. That's what you signed. So yeah, gonna get you out there, Dr. J.
Yeah, no way. I'm not doing it.
24 hours of fun. So
there's other things I'd rather do. I mean, like
what else are you gonna do for 24 hours? Let's go up and down the mountain, roll around the mud, jump through some fire. It's a good time.
Yeah.
But here's a good thing. Good news for you. California rarely allows the fire jump.
Okay. Yeah.
You're good.
State screws everything up.
Exactly. So is it like it's a one set to failure type of thing? Is that how it ends up working with the resistance bands versus 4 or 5 sets?
Really, if you can do a second set, it means you half-assed your first set, which means you really didn't do any sets. You just fucked it up.
Yeah.
So one set, absolute fatigue in diminishing range. So you start doing full range reps and then you can't get there anymore. And then you shorten the repetitions. You basically keep shortening the repetitions until you just cannot move. That's the proper way to do a set of X3. And you don't need anything more than that. Like you'll grow. I'm still growing. I'm 44 now.
And how about back to the running sort of full body human performance sort of stuff, you're talking to NFL, talking to NBA.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see in there in athletes who run, who jump, who are looking for that functional fitness?
Greater speed, greater explosiveness. Some of them are bigger and leaner. It means something when you take an NFL player and make them bigger and leaner because they're as close to their genetic potential as possible. And like I said, I like them, especially because they're drug tested. You're actually looking at a natural athlete. And I know there's all kinds of like self-appointed losers / wannabe experts online that'll say, oh yeah, those guys just get by the drug test. No, they don't. Like they randomly give you blood tests. They'll show up at your house at 4 a.m. and say, give me a syringe of blood. Yeah. Like you can't beat that. And by the way, it used to be they would kick you out or suspend you for a number of games if they could figure out which drug you were using. And if you were using some sort of designer drug or whatever, they just like, well, we don't know. And so, that's like how Barry Bonds got away with it.
Right.
But now the way the World Anti-Doping Association tests is any abnormality at all, like your SHBG's off or your free testosterone doesn't make any sense compared to your total testosterone, you're out. They're just saying, we don't know what you're doing, but we know you're taking something.
Where are they at on CBD?
I don't think it's allowed. Something makes me remember that they had a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now there's other things that I think are better for pain than CBD that they allow. I wish I could remember that chemical. See, I have no pain, so I don't take anything. there's a product out there called Mind Bullet.
Hmm.
And it's it's a cognitive enhancement.
Okay.
But it's a great way to manage pain. And you know who's behind that is Chris Bell, the documentary filmmaker.
Okay.
He made a documentary about that plant. Yeah.
Interesting.
And I find that to be like an amazing, like if you need it, like I've only had pain in my body maybe one time in the last 4 years, but I took it and like instantly it was gone.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so I read this, like CBD doesn't, from a pain relief standpoint, it doesn't really outperform placebo very well.
How about anti-inflammation?
It's an anti-inflammatory, not as strong as, like ibuprofen or something like that, which has a whole host of things wrong with it.
Right.
But I don't, I'm in favor of a lower inflammation nutrition program. But if you think about all the growth factors that occur in the human body that we've discovered, by the way, there are many, dozens, we don't really have defined or described yet. So like, we know obvious, like testosterone, like that's an anabolic and it has receptors, and, with the accelerated receptor activity is when you grow. Not having more testosterone, more receptor side activity, which actually has to do with how heavy you're lifting and not how much testosterone you have. These guys, they have it backwards. Like I can probably, I've done this from time to time. In fact, Tony Hughes, he goes by Dr. Tony Huge on the internet. He's a friend of mine, and I have a very different look at, I guess, the hormone replacement therapy industry. Like, you can run a couple tests in yourself and I will just disprove the need for any type of performance enhancing drug use. I can come close to proving you'll be better if you just have a natural level, and there's a couple other things that you need to do to get your free testosterone down, when you're patient TRT. And that way you can actually monitor how much testosterone your body's using, which is profound and would keep anybody from using supernatural dosages, which they do. Yeah. So,
and it's everywhere now. Maybe it was everywhere before, but it's certainly everywhere on my freaking Instagram feed now.
Yeah, it is, but it isn't. Like 6.6% of males in the United States have taken or are currently taking anabolic steroids. Now, who's in shape? Is it 6.6% of people? Not even close. Maybe 1 out of 60,000 people have like a statue-like physique, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound about right to you? 60,000, 50,000, whatever.
Yeah,
it's
not many, right? Not many.
Not many at all. So that really tells you that there's a lot of people out there using steroids and they don't get any benefit. They don't even look fit. Forget about steroid fit. They don't even look, identifiable as fit people, which kind of tells you that the drugs aren't the answer. The answer is better training, better nutrition, which nobody's particularly interested in. The better nutrition, I get more death threats for what I say about nutrition than what I say about exercise, which is funny because I don't even sell the nutrition.
Right.
Like, they can get mad at me for what I sell. Like, oh, you son of a bitch, you're a con man. Okay, well, you can look up any of the references that I use and they're legit. So I'm not conning anybody. And also the users of X3, they're putting on 20 pounds of muscle in 6 months, which is something they haven't done in 10 years of weightlifting. And there's hundreds of them. They have real Facebook accounts behind them. I can't fake that. So, but these are people who they're too lazy to look it up. They just want to kick and scream because they're jealous.
I want a silver bullet. But what are you saying about nutrition that's pissing people off so much?
I make so many nutrition comments. I don't make a penny off of any of them.
Yeah.
And people are, it's well, I tell people not to eat carbohydrates. I tell people not to eat refined sugar. And you know what the most searched for? I mean, depending on how you define this, most search for string of characters, term, or phrase people search for is how to lose body fat without changing my diet. Now, if somebody's overweight, how did they become overweight? Their diet.
Right.
So only a fool would ask, how do I change my body weight? How do I lose body fat without changing what made me fat? Like, can you believe it?
Unfortunately, I can. Yeah, unfortunately, I can. I mean, I'll give you a couple of quick stories.
Somebody's watching CNN. I mean, somebody's got to know.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you I got it all right, but you know, when my son practices soccer, I'll put on the 30, 45 pound rucksack and get a few miles in at the beginning of his practice, and I'll watch the end, and you know, I'll run into other dads here, and like I hear crazy shit like what's wrong with you? Why you walk around with that thing on your back? Meanwhile, like one of these guys is the guy you just mentioned, right? He's taken supplemental testosterone, but hasn't changed a thing about his level of activity or his diet or anything else. Like, I don't know what he thinks magically. He's drastically overweight. And then another guy whose intent is good. You know, he wants to lose weight and get in better shape. In particular, he wants to lose belly fat. So guess what he's doing? The old I'm going to do ab work every day to lose my belly fat. Right? Like, and it's unfortunate, right? Because it's people that want to change.
I feel so bad for these guys.
Right?
But you know, in a way, it's like they buy what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and there is a reason I brought up CNN is people have started to consume information that pleases their emotions. Like, this didn't happen in like
it validates, right?
Yeah, like they want to justify eating Twinkies every day.
Right.
And it's like that's just, I mean, hey, like if you came here for that, then you came here for somebody to lie to you. And that's not what we do. Like we're delivering science in an easy, understandable, small messages. I hate the term dumbing it down, but you know, you got to make it so that it's digestible and usable for people.
Bite size. It's bite size.
And that's like my Instagram. That's like what I do on Instagram. Now I'm doing it on TikTok, and Facebook. It's the same kind of thing. Like giving a scientific outcome and explaining how somebody can apply it in their life. And like it's like clockwork. The hate mail just starts streaming in when it's like, you know, you really don't need carbohydrates. Like carbohydrates are not a macronutrient. You don't need carbohydrates for any part of your survival or organ function at all, ever. And even the AMAs, and it's weird. I mean, I guess the consultants from Nabisco weren't there that day because it says in their sort of nutrition guide, provided you have the proper amount of essential fats and essential amino acids, the need for carbohydrates is 0. So like, I just post that. I mean, it's just a fact. It's like printed in the sort of whatever, let's call it the religious text of nutrition in Western society.
Right.
And they'll send me a death threat because they just want to keep eating carbohydrates. That's not what they want to hear. That was the weirdest thing to me. Like, of all things. Also, if you don't like hearing that you should be eating healthier, don't follow anything fitness. Just go sign on to the teddy bear forum. I'm sure there's some, no one's telling you how to eat there.
Look, the guy that wants to hear that we need carbs is the same guy that probably doesn't want to eat a natural form of of carbs, right? They want to have, I don't know, French fries or that bag of Doritos or whatever, right? Again,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
looking for
Doritos are their
justification.
vegetable for the day, right? Right.
Right.
And also, it's like here's a question I get a lot: Why do why are there so many powerful vegan studies? Well, the answer is they're paid for by Nabisco, Kellogg's, Dannon, and also Nabisco, Kellogg's, and Dannon, and General Mills. They know that vegans don't eat kale. They eat cookies and cakes. They eat vegan processed foods, which they make.
Right.
So they're willing to fund research that's going to say their products are great for people. And here's another thing. So the blue zone thing, people live in blue zones and they live to be 100 or more. It's total bullshit, right?
Yeah, I heard it's been debunked.
Yeah, it's because like all those places, what they have in common is there are no birth certificates. All of them. Like, and so what happens is the news comes out, somebody from Nabisco jumps on an airplane and tells the guy, hey, we'll give you 50 grand if you just tell people that you made sure that, all 120 years of your life, which is a total lie, they're probably like 85 or something, that you ate Triscuits every day. It's like some old guy who's like, 50 grand? Sure. No problem.
No worries.
Give me the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, oh, blue zone miracle.
Right. Well, look, here's the other thing, right? It's the selection bias thing, right? Like red wine makes you live longer. Well, I don't know. Who'd you survey, right? Who are the red wine drinkers? Well, yeah, these are also people that in those environments, they're living a lower stress life. They spend more time outdoors. They're moving every day. They bend, they squat, they move their body, right? Like there's a bunch of stuff that contribute to longevity. It's not just, am I eating kale? I have a buddy and a coach who he looked at like my diet for a week and he goes, dude, you're gonna fucking die. Like, what are you talking about?
I get that every day.
He goes like you live pretty much off of eggs and meat. And I said, yeah, and avocado, love avocado. And he goes like, you got to get on a plant-based diet or you're gonna die. And I'm like, your son's gonna have no father. But like, so we fight this thing out, and at least we're good humored about it. And it's an ongoing thing. But the one common ground we've got is forget the processed shit, right? Like let's eat natural whole foods, whichever, wherever it comes from.
Yeah. I would wonder like vegans don't live as long as meat eaters. And once you control for like lifestyle, like what studies used to do in order to get a phony outcome.
Science. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is basically every vegan has ever done a study. They look at people like the study that showed that colon cancer was, you're guaranteed colon cancer. It actually increased your already existing chances of colon cancer, which are close to 0%, by 2%. So 2% on almost 0% is still like 0%. But what they did, I mean, it's easy to lie with statistics, but then on top of that, they isolated people in the study. They found 1,000 people who ate nitrate meat every day. So nitrate meat is nitrates are, it's a type of preservative where you can keep meats for a year in your refrigerator, or maybe
like some guy living on bologna and salami.
Well, basically like a gas station hot dog.
Yeah.
Gas station hot dog is nitrate meat.
Okay.
So you found 1,000 guys who 7 days a week ate a gas station hot dog. Were they doing that for their health? Were these health fanatics? Or were they maybe homeless junkies who were probably doing a lot of things that might limit their life? Like, I don't know anyone who's eating a gas station hot dog.
If they are, it's getting washed down with a big gulp. Right?
Yeah, right. Like, it's just like gas stations don't have food. I don't know what the hell people think when they walk into a gas station, like, gonna get that. Like, that was designed to sit there under that heat lamp for a week. That's what that was designed for. Right. It wasn't designed to be food. the food thing is secondary. They got to sell it first. Don't eat that. Yeah. I mean, so I've never even had to tell anyone. I mean, one time I had to tell a guy not to eat gas station sushi, which I never thought I'd have to explain that. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, so not to take up too much of your time, Doctor. Let's get back to where people can find you and find the X3 before we wrap up here.
Okay. Well, my last name is difficult to spell. So I got a website, I got a landing page. It's drj.com, DOCTOR, the letter J.com.
Dr. J.
You can get to my Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everything from there. I do most of my stuff on Instagram at the moment. So like if you want sort of the maybe 3 times a week update on what's the new science on nutrition, anything. I mean, I'm obviously like you, very low carbohydrate. Your nutrition comes from animal fats and animal proteins. You know, it's a shame that some people would be dismissive just based on, you know, what I just said. That is what I recommend, but I will give you the research that explains why. And I'll also show you some like phony vegan research. I do that every once in a while where I'll be like, here's how they lied in this paper, you know? And like journals don't retract things unless they're brutally wrong, like total misread of statistics or like something like that. But the biases, they can't really do much about. If you have a sampling bias and you got a lousy sample, like what I was talking about, where they found people who ate gas station hot dogs every day. Right. Well, why are you even having these people in a what's healthier argument? Right. Like the fact that you and I get top grade cut meats and cook them perfectly and, you know, so raw on the inside, like we're getting the maximum nutrition. We're doing it for health reasons. But why would you look at us when you can go look at homeless people? Right? It's going to be the same result. Sure. Like, yeah, it's just, so I'll point out like sampling biases and stuff like that. And that helps people when they realize, shit, I am being lied to.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the honesty and the transparency. I look forward to checking that out. And then the X3 itself is for sale through your site, or where else can we find it?
You can find that on drj.com. There's 2 links. There's superior exercise, superior nutrition. I do have a nutrition product. There's only one supplement I take. It's called Fortigen. It's bacterial fermentation. Even vegans can take it. I mean, like my first thing with a vegan is I try and talk them into not being vegan. But if they're not ready for that, I got something else. So they can do that. And yeah, I'd rather be supportive than just, you know, say like what you're doing is irresponsible, because if they're not willing to change that day, that's not helpful. Right. So I do have a way for them to get like a really high quality amount of protein into their body with bacterial fermentation, arguably better than even steak. But, you know, they still need all the vitamins they're missing, like B12. Yeah. So, I mean, you can live like that, just not well.
Yeah.
But I can help.
Apparently we can live a long time eating like quarter pounders with cheese too, but doesn't mean we're living well, right? It's going to catch up.
Yeah.
It's going to catch up.
This guy's over 100 years old that smokes cigarettes. It doesn't mean cigarettes are the gateway to youth.
But they sit in a low squat, so maybe that's what does it for them. I don't know, maybe. And then just on the X3, because I know I glanced at it before we jumped on the call. Is there just one package, like keep it simple, or bells and whistles, or what? No.
Yeah, the elite band, that band that only half the NFL can use, like that's there. But you know, I urge you to order it when it's time.
Okay, that's the ego band.
Necessarily day one. Now, obviously, if somebody is, you know, they've always been the strongest guy at the barbecue or whatever, like, yeah, okay, maybe you need the orange one. Yeah. But it's not cheap. I mean, that's a huge amount of latex. It's like a pound, and it's like 1.2 pounds of latex. Just that one band.
That one band. Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, get it if you need it. Get it if you're close to needing it. Like if you take the original product out of the box, put the black band on, and you can do 30 reps on day one. Yeah, you can go ahead and order the elite.
The elite. Okay, right on. Well, drj.com, and we'll get links up to that on all your social media and YouTube. I look forward to the information, the videos, the deadlifts and the jeans, and the vegan stuff too, man. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate you kind of bearing with me here. Just variety of topics, but it was fun chatting, and I appreciate how you look at the world, and I just appreciate you doing what you're doing, man. Not a lot of people have the balls to jump off and start that business and do it in a way that's revolutionizing health and the world. So thank you,
Michael. Thanks so much for having me. This was fun.
Man. My pleasure. We'll do it again.
Yep.